friends, and welcome back to my channel. As of recording this video, I am officially done with my freshman year of college. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what my experience was like with everything that's gone on in these past year and a half, because I know that the college experience is different for everybody, but this year was quite a bit different. So I talked a little bit about the beginning of my experience in college in my review of 2020 video, because my fall semester of college was in the fall of 2020. So I talked a little bit about that there, but I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go over each of my semesters. The college that I go to has 3 trimesters or 3 terms. So I'm going to go over each of them and kind of what happened, highs and lows, just talk through my experiences. So yeah, let's get started. So in the fall, as you already know, COVID was high. My college canceled in-person classes. We were not allowed to move into the dorms. I was devastated. I've gone over this quite a few times, but I really wanted to be able to have that whole college experience. I wanted to be able to get out and do things, get out of the house, go see a new city for the first time, but I didn't get a chance to do that. So I was at home, and my room sort of turned into my dorm room. One of the things in my family is we're not supposed to have our electronics in our room. So that was one of the big changes, was I was allowed to have my computer, my phone, even like my Switch that I had just gotten over the summer. I was allowed to have all of that in my room. So I was up here. I had 3 classes. Each term we have 3 classes. So in the fall I had my seminar class, I had my Psych 101 class, and then I had French 202. I think that's the level I was in the fall, I don't remember. Orientation happens, and usually orientation is a week-long thing, or kind of a week-long thing, where we get to know the people in our seminar. We have 2 peer leaders. We do all of these like fun activities and stuff. So we go through orientation, and they changed it up. So we had just 3 days of orientation. The first 2 days were, honestly, most of it I think was just watching videos on our own. Like there were pre-recorded videos that we had to watch on our own, so it wasn't really like orientation, but I think we did have some time where we met with our seminar groups. We met with our peer leaders, and they talked about some stuff. We played some games. I think, did we do Scriblio for the seminar? I don't remember. The fall has been a long time. It's been almost a year. So it was a long while away, so I don't remember a ton of it, especially because I was at home. It sort of blends into the rest of like the summer and everything like that. So yeah, so we had our orientation, and then on Saturday we had like Thursday, Friday, Saturday of orientation, and then classes started Monday. But on Saturday we got like a choose your own orientation. So we got to, there were different time slots with different meetings in them. So we got to choose a bunch of meetings we wanted to go to. You could go to well, not all of them, but you could go to one in every time slot. You could go to just one. You didn't have to go to any if you didn't want to, although they kind of wanted you to. But I had a lot of fun there. 2 of the girls in my seminar class and I did 1 or 2 of the same things, which was super nice. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a really cool thing to do, because I think that usually on that Saturday there's like the club fair or something, where all of the clubs at school go out and try and recruit freshmen and stuff. So yeah, so we didn't have that, but we did have our choose your own orientation. And then classes started. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I had my seminar and my French class. So I started the day with my seminar class. I didn't have any early classes that term. My earliest class was my seminar, and that was at is it 11:55 or something like that? It was in the middle of the day, so I started in the middle of the day, which was really nice. So I had seminar, and then I had about a 10-minute break, and then I had French. And my seminar class, everyone in my seminar thought it was going to be a creative writing class. It was called Writings from the Heart. That was the name of the class. We thought it was going to be a creative writing class where we were going to write poetry. We were going to look at like creative writing from different cultures. We were even going to look at like dance and performance and all of that. No, it ended up being so the reason we take our seminar classes is because it's to get us prepared for like college writing and stuff like that. So it's a writing based class, which we understood. Most of the other seminar classes did like, I don't know, 3 papers, like one 3rd week, 6th week, and like finals week or something. No, our class was a 12-page autoethnography research paper that we were working on throughout the whole class. Now, none of us knew what autoethnography was. That was nowhere in the course description. And the way it was explained was not the greatest. We sort of got it by the end, but our professor, I loved her, but it was her first year teaching at this particular school. She had taught before, but there was nothing in the course description about any of this, so I would have been fine with the class had I known what we were expecting, but I didn't, and none of us did. So it wasn't like I read it wrong. It was the description was not correct, because every single person in my seminar, I say every single person like there were a ton of people, there were maybe 15 of us. And by the end there were like 10. But yeah, all of us read the description and thought it was a creative writing class, and it wasn't. So yeah, that was my seminar class. And then my French class was 202. I tested into 202 because you have to take a language placement test. But in the 5 years that I took French in both middle school and high school, I spoke maybe a few classes out of that entire 5 years. We just did not speak French. Like, even I went to France, and the only thing I ever said in French there was ordering ice cream. That was it. Like, I only ever, because even when we were in restaurants, sometimes we didn't have to order because we were with a group. But yeah, so we didn't speak French. So testing into the 202 class, I spoke more French in that first week of class, those first 3 classes, than I had spoken ever. Like, ever, either in class or out of class. Just more French than I'd spoken ever. And it really helped. And this class, it was a lot of work, it was a lot of grammar, it was a lot of verb tenses and vocab and all of that. So I didn't always enjoy everything, but it was very nice to be able to finally learn how to speak French. Because I was fairly good at writing, I was good at understanding, but I couldn't speak. So this was, my class I think was even called Conversation and Composition. So that helped. And then my psych class, because it was the Psych 101, the good thing with that was that I didn't need to pay attention at all. And if any of you have gone through this online school, if any of you are still in school, and you've gone through this online school stuff, you know that it's difficult to pay attention anyway. So to have a class where you don't need to pay attention is wonderful, because I knew all but I think 2 of the topics we covered in the entire class. So that was my fall semester. Then the winter came. I'm not going to talk about that much because like over Christmas and stuff, because I talked about that in my last Let's Talk 2020 video. And I want this to be focused on the school year, because I haven't gotten a chance to focus on the school year. And I'm hoping to do, at the end of this year, do another like look back at 2021 sort of. So I'll talk, because I don't want to mess with that video, I guess. I'll talk more about the actual school stuff and what I did while I was at school. So winter term, I finally got to move on campus. I think it was probably the middle of January. when we moved into school. And I left on Friday, so I moved in on Friday. I was the first one of my friends because from our seminar, we had a couple people that were like, hey, we're all gonna be on campus. Why don't we like get meals together or something like that? Like, why don't we get dinner sometimes? So I moved on campus on Friday, and we had the weekend, and then our classes were virtual for that first week, and then any in-person classes started in our fourth week. So move-in was fine. You guys have probably seen my moving to college video. If you haven't, I'll link it up here for you guys to go watch. But yeah, so move-in went fine. That first weekend was really nice. 3 of my friends moved in on Saturday, and then 1 of them moved in on Sunday. So Sunday night, we all had dinner together, and it was really nice. It was really cold, and we're not allowed to eat inside anywhere. So we had to eat outside. And this is the middle of January, so this is really fucking cold, although it got colder. So we were eating outside, and then we would go on these walks after dinner because we didn't think, because we had all gotten our COVID tests and we had to wait for the results to come back, we really weren't supposed to be hanging out anyway, but we weren't supposed to be hanging out inside especially. Even though we all knew that none of us had COVID, but it was fine. So we ended up going on these walks outside. So I was like, I had my hands shoved in my pockets. Like, I was not looking at my phone. I was like hands shoved in my pockets, trying to keep myself warm, talking to these new people that I felt like I had known for forever. So those walks were really nice. It was nice to talk to them. But it was definitely we were allowed to go inside, or we should have just stayed inside, but it was defining for our group, I guess. So winter term keeps going. I have my philosophy class, which was a 300 level philosophy class, first one I've ever taken. Hated it. I did not understand a thing, but it was one of the last classes that was open because I got screwed over with registration times. So I had philosophy, the next French class, and then my Buddhism class, which was, again, one of the last classes that was open, but it was super interesting. A lot of writing, a lot of reading, but super interesting. So winter term had a lot more homework, but it was one of those things where I could do it the day of, or I could do it like the night before, and not really worry about a lot of things. The only things that I really needed to worry about were the papers, because in both my Buddhism and my philosophy class, we had papers due every 3 weeks. So a lot of times they ended up on the same week. So I was really stressed about those papers. So for like 3 weeks in the term, for about a week at a time, I was just stressed and always working and whatever, but I always found time to eat with my friends and hang out a little bit. And sometimes we'd go down to the lounge in one of the dorm buildings and do our homework together. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was fairly stressful, but it was really fun. We did some cool things during the winter. There was one night quite early in the term, there was snow on the ground, and my campus has a big hill in the middle of it. So there were a bunch of people that were standing up at the top of the hill, and they had brought box lids and cardboard, like flattened cardboard boxes, and they were sledding down the hill. No sleds, but these box lids and cardboard boxes, and we were sledding down the hill, and it was a ton of fun. I went up with 2 or 3 of my friends one night when we were walking around, just because we heard yelling and stuff, and we saw people coming down the hill. So we went up and checked that out. So that was a lot of fun. We did a couple times we went downtown, which was really cool because my campus is fairly close. It's not in downtown of the city that we're in, but it is fairly close. So it was really nice. We were able to walk maybe half an hour to downtown through some amazing neighborhoods, but also one week during a blizzard, pretty much. The snow was probably up to my knees, and I'm 6 foot tall, so some of my friends are not that tall, so it was quite a bit of snow, but it was really fun. We still ate outside almost every day. I think there were maybe a few days where we didn't eat outside because it was too cold. So we did a ton of fun stuff. It was a lot of work, but it was definitely a lot of fun, and I actually did have one in-person class. My French lab was in person because I was on campus, so there were 3 other girls in my lab and our TA, and it was a lot of fun. It was just like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So yeah, winter term, lots of work, but also lots of fun. And spring term starts. And for spring term, I had, oh boy, I literally just got done with these classes. Oh, I had Art, Power, and Society, French 301, so I'm in the 300 levels now, and Chinese Sci-Fi, which thankfully was taught in English. But yeah, so again, kind of got screwed with registration time. No. So again, yeah, kind of got screwed with registration times. Registered one of the last people. Couldn't get into any psych classes, couldn't get into stats, which is required for the psych major. Couldn't get into anything. One of my RAs had actually convinced me to take Chinese Sci-Fi, and it was open. Spring term, it was a lot more emotional stress rather than like actual school stress, although I think I probably had more work this past term than I did in the winter term, or at least more work that I actually did. But it was a lot of emotional stress because we had some rifts in the friend group, because we had expanded from the 5 of us to maybe 15 of us, which is the most friends that I've had at any time, like in one group ever. So that was really nice, but there were a couple things that were going on that I'm not going to get into, especially not in this video, because I want it to be more, again, about my school experience. But yeah, there were a few things that had happened that caused us to lose some friends. It was probably a good thing we lost them, because they ended up not being very good people. So yeah, so I'm not going to get into what happened or anything like that, but there were some emotional things that were going on in the spring that made it a little more difficult. And even just now, like on Wednesday, I finished my exam. I had one final due Monday, one final due Tuesday, and one final due Wednesday. All 3 of them were papers, which sucked, because some of my other ones had been like presentations or like written exams, and not papers. But I had 2 of them were multiple part papers that we had been writing throughout the quarter. So my French and my Art, Power, and Society, we had been writing them throughout the quarter. They were both like 5 or 6 part assignments, which was so helpful, because for Art, Power, and Society, we actually, by the end, I had the entire paper written, and then just the final that I had to turn in was I had to write the rest of my conclusion and proofread and make sure it met the page limit. And then my French one, I had been writing more and more detailed outlines for each of the steps. And then the 5th step was just to write it. My Chinese Sci-Fi one, on the other hand, was an 8 to 12 page paper with almost no guidelines. Only guidelines were MLA format, 12-point font, double-spaced, Times New Roman. We had to have concrete textual analysis and 2 outside citations. That doesn't give me anything. Like, both of my other ones were like, you have to include this, like, your intro should be like this, the structure should be that, and whatever. So I enjoyed the freedom that we had in a lot of the assignments in that Chinese Sci-Fi class, but having our final paper just be those bare minimum requirements, like we were able to choose whatever topic we wanted, but there were just no requirements whatsoever, or no guidelines whatsoever, so it made me really stressed out. That took me a while, but I got it done, and they were all turned in, and it was great. Throughout the quarter, the workload for French was heavy. It was a very difficult class for me because it was a 300 level class. I didn't have my friend who I had in my past 2 classes, who was not a native French speaker, and another freshman, because the two other freshmen in the 300 level class were both like fluent speakers of the language, so I didn't really talk to them, and everyone else was sophomores and juniors. So that was kind of a struggle. And also the topic of the class was future technologies. So we talked about artificial uterus, we talked about cyborgs, we talked about like genetic modification, we talked about nanotechnology, all of these things that I don't know a lot about in English. So I had to learn both in English and in French at the same time. So that was really complicated for me. And it was a very difficult class because there was a lot of things that I did not understand. But I got through it. I don't know what my final grade is yet, but I got through it. And Art, Power, and Society was super interesting. And Chinese sci-fi should have been interesting. And we thought it was a film class, but it ended up being a literature class, which was fine because I enjoyed the reading. But we watched more films in my French class than we did in my Chinese sci-fi class. And in the description of the Chinese sci-fi class, it said fiction and films, so films plural, and we watched one. But yeah, so there was a lot of different things going on in the spring term, but I'm glad it's over. I'm glad I finished my freshman year as a now rising sophomore. I don't even know what to say. It's just because I definitely enjoyed the things, all of the things that I got to do, actually being able to be on campus, because I know that wasn't the case for quite a few people, especially at my school. It's not the case for quite a few of them. People were getting screwed over by administration, by landlords, by just everything. Things weren't working out. And I wish I had had a real or like a normal freshman experience, but with all of the things that I did, I don't think I would have met some of the people that I met had we had a regular year, because there were some things that I did that I probably would not have done in any regular circumstances. So yeah, it's just, it was a great year, mostly, as good as it could be. There were highs, there were lows, but I'm glad it's over, and I'm very excited for next year, for when we'll be back to fully in person. Everyone will be, hopefully, or at least hopefully everyone will be vaccinated. We can start going back to some semblance of normal, and actually next year, or in the fall, I will be an orientation peer leader, so I get to move in a little bit early, which is like in the beginning of September, which is not early for most other people, but I'll be an orientation peer leader, so that'll be cool to have that orientation experience as well. So I'll kind of be going through it as well as the freshmen. But yeah, I'm just really excited for what next year will bring. I'm excited to do another look back at this whole year, so I can go into more of like the social things that we did, because I just, in this video, kind of just wanted to focus on more of school, but still throw a little bit of the social stuff in, because that was a very important part of my year, because I don't think I would have gotten through it as well as I did without all of my friends. So yeah, so if any of my college friends are watching, I love you guys. You guys made this year so wonderful. And yeah, I will see y'all in the fall if I don't see you this summer. So I think that's all that I have to talk about. I'm probably missing a ton of stuff, but that's all I can think of right now. So if you like this video, leave a like, comment down below if you were in college during this pandemic, or if you were in school. Comment, let me know how similar or different your experience was, what some of your favorite or least favorite things were about your experiences. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see y'all in the next video. Love y'all.